You know, I'm starting to notice a trend with games releasing on the Switch and consoles in general. Now, this has probably been happening for some time, but I wasn't really reviewing games full time until the past like 3 or 4 months. This trend of releasing excellent games that don't get a lot of fanfare on Steam because of how bloated it is over there. Dead in Vinland is another excellent game, so stick around for my review. What's up, guys and gals, and welcome to another Sunny review. And today we are taking a look at Dead in Vinland, published by Plug-in Digital and developed by CCCP. Dead in Vinland is a survival management game mixed with some RPG elements, some strategy combat. You start off with your family: Eric, a noble man; his daughter Carrie, a feisty hunter; his wife Bloodawed, who can do it all; and her sister with a punchy attitude, Moria. The family is cast away from their homeland, and they go out in seas in search of a new home. When a powerful storm capsizes the boat, they end up on a strange island. Your goal will be to survive, with one huge caveat. Bjorn Headcleaver runs the island, and he is demanding that you pay him tribute and resources that he collects after a certain amount of days that you must farm up for him. So your goal in Dead in Vinland is to survive, manage your resources, and get by while trying to get powerful enough yourself to challenge him and finally live in peace. The game will have you managing 5 very important stats at any point that if they hit 100, the given character will die, starting with hunger, sickness, depression, fatigue, and injury. Now, the way the game has you manage all these different categories is going to vary, but the biggest 2 things you must focus on at all times, separate from those 5, is fire and water. You'll be gathering water, which then you must in turn purify to drink. The issue is that you have to turn on a fire, you need tinder, and tinder is extremely rare in this game, and the game tells you from the onset that it's rare, so you never want the fire to burn out, or it will be game over for you and your entire party. So one of the first things you'll want to work on is building a logging camp to keep a steady supply of wood. Then there's a lot of different things you can build that will help manage these 5 stats, ranging from a tavern to help keep depression down, a healing tent to keep sickness and injury down, a rest area to have your party sleep and get rested. There's various other ways that you can scavenge and gather food and build buildings for those. All these buildings you can build will be key to your survival, as you can also upgrade each one further for huge bonuses. The day is split into 2 parts, followed by a nighttime gathering. During the day, you'll be doing a set of activities like gathering water, wood cutting, scavenging for fruit, hunting for animals, mining, searching for herbs. There's a ton of activities you will assign your camp followers to do. Then this will be followed up by a nighttime camp where you will partake in cutscenes between the people in your camp. Then after, you will be distributing the food and drink among your followers, and then they will rest for the night. What will also be key is every single person's stats and traits. This is a key aspect of the game, as every single family member or character you recruit in the game will have strengths and weaknesses. Some will be better at hunting or chopping wood, scavenging for fruit. You'll want to put the right character in the right role to really maximize the potential of what you gather and what you do. Traits will also play a vital role, as each person gets traits throughout the playthrough, good or bad. Sometimes you'll get a permanent positive trait that you will benefit through the entire playthrough, or times you'll get something negative that is permanent that you'll have to deal with. These can be anything from less attack in battle to less experience doing a gathering role, or being an aspiring gardener is something positive. Positive stats to something like cooking. So traits will play a big role in deciding how you use each one of your villagers. Another important role in this game will be the exploration of the island you're in, and this is a huge aspect, as this is how you'll find other party members to join your family and how you'll encounter combat situations. You'll be sending out one person to explore, hopefully somebody who has good exploration stats. They will explore an area, and when they come back, you may or may not have a battle encounter, but after the area is explored, you'll also be presented with a scenario that you can tackle with any character that you have that can tackle that specific scenario. I personally wasn't a huge fan of these, as they were wildly random in what you would get. You could walk away with something positive in the encounter and maybe get some resources or a positive trait, but most of the time I felt like I was being punished. My members would get fatigued, injured, or they'd walk away with a negative trait. So I personally wasn't a giant fan of these prompted scenarios, but it will be a necessary evil to do. But I also do acknowledge that I might have been getting extremely unlucky. As for the combat gameplay, this was pretty enjoyable. You'll end up choosing between 3 party members in total, and they will have different roles. You can have a tank type character, damage dealer, or support type. The battling is all turn based, and each attack for each character was unique. The tank characters can shield other party members or debuff the enemy. The attack dealers were focused on damage and debuffing or buffing, and the support characters could buff their party and deal damage. The combat being turn-based really added a big element of strategy, and you wanted to have the right party members, because the interesting wrinkle to combat here that I personally liked is that if your party took damage, it would negatively affect them after the battle. So if I had a member who got knocked out completely, they would have a deadly wound or a negative consequence to their health. In one case, one of my members got knocked out and had a deadly wound, and it took me a while to remove that. It wasn't going away with time, so I had to craft a medical tent and pray to the RNG gods for her to be healed so I wouldn't lose her to death. So combat has huge implications to your playthrough, because if you're not good at this, every time your battle ends, your characters will have broken bones or gaping wounds, which really sets you back on gathering resources. And even if you use the medical tent to heal them, then you're taking away another character who has to try to heal them. So just watching their overall health deteriorate after these battles, if you're not good at it, really makes it complicated. So many of these games finish the combat and act like nothing happens. Well, not in this game. It's an aspect that I liked because it seemed more realistic. But one thing I didn't like about the combat is how random everything is in terms of your attacks landing. The game does give you a percentage on what you have a chance on landing a given attack. Problem is, a lot of the times these percentages were pretty low in almost every case. The highest I would ever see would be around 80% chance to land an attack, but most of the time it was in the 60 to 70% range, which really made the combat too RNG for my liking. In defense of the game, it seemed like the enemy also had to deal with the same mechanics, so there will be a lot of missing back and forth, and the combat surprisingly would take average about 5 minutes for just one battle. Which brings me to something people will love or hate with Dead in Vinland, and even at times I would cuss at the screen. This game is chock full of RNG. There is nothing but random everything in this game. To every single resource you send someone to gather, it will be a random number from a preset number. So someone will have a chance to bring in maybe 3 to 6 wood, and it'll just be random. Everything in this game is essentially tied to a random number, even including the negative traits. It's hard for me to say I enjoyed this in every single aspect of the game. I had times where I had to cure someone from dying and hope the randomness would target the right sickness, and it felt great when it did, and then I felt lucky and excited. But more often than not, I wasn't lucky most of the time. So there's definitely a love-hate relationship with this mechanic in Dead in Vinland. Overall, my time with Dead in Vinland was a very fun experience. The game gave me the feels of just one more turn before I had to turn it off. The game has beautiful music that as I write this review, I have it going on in the background. The game's art style is absolutely gorgeous, and I loved all the hand-drawn details. The interaction between the family members and the new people you recruit in the story is absolutely awesome and fun to see. Everyone with their personalities either getting along or clashing was great. There's a ton of dialogue you'll encounter that I never once fast-forwarded to get past it, because it was all so enjoyable to see the interactions between everyone. I honestly had no idea what I was getting when I first booted this game up, and maybe that's because of the no expectations. I was pleasantly surprised by how excellent this game was made. The detail to every single mechanic, heck, just the details in the art style is wonderful. The game is well done and absolutely has my recommendation. This game is getting an 8.5 out of 10. This game won't appeal to everyone. This is a survival management game with combat sprinkled in. That alone won't excite people, but if you're into these types of games, the survival and management games, these are probably one of the best. This is one of the best I've ever played, and I've played quite a few. You're getting tons and tons of content here, and the game comes with a year's worth of DLC included in the game. There's also another mode I haven't even mentioned that lets you choose all your characters instead of going through the story, and it's called Hedo Dining, and it's an endless, and I'm pretty sure I mispronounced that, but it is an endless sandbox mode with no story elements in it. So in my opinion, you're 100% getting your money's worth. I think you should pick this one up, and kudos to the publishers and developers for such a well-made game, as I fully enjoyed every second I spent playing this. But that's going to be it for me on this review. If you guys like this review, please smash that like button as it helps others find the review a bit easier. Sub to the channel if you're brand new. But with all that said, I hope each and every single one of you has a sunny day.